Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, and friends, thank you for being here today. I'm honored to stand before you to discuss a topic that's not just crucial for success, but essential for living a life of meaning and purpose. Today, we're going to dive deep into the heart of personal growth and achievement. We're going to explore how to force yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, why do we need to force ourselves? Shouldn't these things come naturally? Well, let me tell you something. If success came naturally, everyone would be successful. But we know that's not the case, don't we? You see, discipline, consistency, and strength, these aren't traits we're born with. They're skills we develop. They're muscles we build. And just like any muscle, they require consistent exercise to grow stronger. Let's start with discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's what gets you out of bed at 5 a.m. when you'd rather sleep in. It's what makes you choose the salad instead of the burger. It's what keeps you working on your business plan when your friends are out partying. But here's the thing about discipline. It's not about being harsh with yourself. It's about love. Yes, you heard me right. Discipline is an act of self-love. When you discipline yourself to do what you know you should do, when you should do it, you're going to love the results. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Jim, discipline is hard. It's uncomfortable. And you're absolutely right. It is hard. It is uncomfortable. But let me ask you this. What's more uncomfortable? The pain of discipline or the pain of regret? You see, discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. The momentary discomfort of forcing yourself to stay disciplined is nothing compared to the crushing weight of looking back on your life and realizing you never lived up to your potential. So how do we build discipline? We start small. We start with the little things. Maybe it's making your bed every morning. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes a day. Maybe it's going for a short walk after dinner instead of plopping down in front of the TV. These might seem like insignificant actions, but they're not. They're the building blocks of discipline. They're the daily victories that, over time, shape your character and your destiny. Remember, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. The key here is every day, which brings us to our next point, consistency. Consistency is where the real magic happens. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. Think about it. One trip to the gym won't make you fit. One healthy meal won't make you healthy. One day of focused work won't build a successful business. But do these things consistently, day in and day out, and watch how your life changes. Consistency is the compound interest of self-improvement. Just like how money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. But here's the catch. Consistency isn't always exciting. In fact, most of the time, it's downright boring. It's showing up day after day, doing the same things, often without seeing immediate results. This is where most people falter. They start strong, full of enthusiasm and motivation. But when the novelty wears off, when the results don't come as quickly as they'd hoped, they give up. But not you. You're going to be different. You're going to understand that the most powerful outcomes are delayed. You're going to trust in the process even when you can't see the results yet. Because here's the truth. Success is never owned. It's rented. And the rent is due every day. Every single day you have to make the choice to stay consistent, to keep showing up, to keep doing the work. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but Jim, what about when life gets in the way? What about when things get tough? And that's where our third element comes in, strength. Strength isn't just about physical prowess. It's about mental and emotional resilience. It's about having the fortitude to keep going when everything in you wants to quit. You see, life isn't always going to be smooth sailing. There will be storms. There will be challenges. There will be days when you feel like giving up. And in those moments, you need to be strong. Strength is what gets you through the tough times. It's what helps you bounce back from failure. It's what allows you to face your fears and keep moving forward. But here's the thing about strength. It's not about never falling down. It's about always getting back up. It's about facing adversity head on and saying, is that all you've got? You see, strength isn't the absence of weakness. It's the courage to overcome it. It's about acknowledging your vulnerabilities and pushing through them anyway. So how do we build this strength? We build it through challenges. We build it by stepping out of our comfort zones. We build it by doing the things we're afraid to do. Every time you face a fear, every time you push through discomfort, every time you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, you're building strength. Now let's tie these three elements together. Discipline, consistency, and strength. They're not separate entities. They're interconnected. They feed into each other, creating a powerful cycle of growth and achievement. Discipline gives you the focus to stay consistent. Consistency builds the strength to face challenges. And strength reinforces your discipline. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle. But here's the key. You have to force yourself to start this cycle. You have to make the conscious choice every single day to stay disciplined, to remain consistent, to be strong. It's not going to be easy. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you want to slack off, when you want to give in to temptation, when you want to take the easy way out. And in those moments, you have to force yourself. You have to be your own taskmaster. You have to be willing to do what others won't so you can live like others can't. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, this sounds exhausting. Do I really have to force myself all the time? And the answer is yes, at least at first. You see, forcing yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong is like pushing a heavy boulder up a hill. It's hard work at the beginning. It requires a lot of effort and energy. But here's the good news. Once you get that boulder to the top of the hill, it starts to roll down the other side on its own. The habits you've built, the discipline you've cultivated, the consistency you've maintained, they start to carry their own momentum. That's when discipline becomes second nature. That's when consistency becomes a habit. That's when strength becomes a part of who you are. But you have to be willing to push that boulder up the hill first. You have to be willing to do the hard work, to make the tough choices, to force yourself when you don't feel like it. Because here's the truth. The pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. The discomfort of consistency is nothing compared to the agony of what could have been. The challenge of being strong pales in comparison to the weakness of giving up. So I challenge you today. Force yourself. Force yourself to wake up early and seize the day. Force yourself to stick to your commitments, even when it's inconvenient. Force yourself to face your fears and overcome your limitations. Because when you force yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong, you're not just changing your actions, you're changing your identity. You're becoming the person you've always wanted to be. And isn't that worth fighting for? Isn't that worth the effort and the struggle? Isn't that worth forcing yourself? Now, let's talk about the practical aspects of forcing yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong. It's one thing to understand these concepts intellectually, but it's another thing entirely to put them into practice in your daily life. First, let's consider discipline. Discipline is all about doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's about creating structures and routines in your life that support your goals. One practical way to build discipline is through the power of scheduling. Don't just leave things to chance. Don't wait until you feel motivated. Schedule your important tasks. Put them in your calendar. Treat them with the same respect you'd give to an important business meeting or a doctor's appointment. If you want to write a book, schedule your writing time. If you want to get in shape, schedule your workouts. If you want to build a business, schedule your work hours. Make these appointments with yourself non-negotiable. Remember, what gets scheduled gets done. When you put something in your calendar, you're making a commitment to yourself. And keeping commitments to yourself is one of the most powerful ways to build self-discipline. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but Jim, what if I don't feel like doing it when the time comes? And that's where that thirsting part comes in. You have to be willing to push through that resistance. You have to be willing to do it anyway. One technique I've found helpful is the 5-second rule. When it's time to do something you've scheduled, count backward from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then move. Don't think about it, don't debate it. Just move. This simple act interrupts the pattern of procrastination and hesitation that so often derails our best intentions. Another powerful tool for building discipline is the concept of eating a frog. This comes from a quote often attributed to Mark Twain. Mark Twain to Mark II. It's meant to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. In other words, tackle your most challenging or least appealing task first thing in the day. When you force yourself to do this, you build tremendous discipline and momentum for the rest of your day. Now, let's talk about consistency. Consistency is all about showing up day after day, week after week, month after month. It's about doing the small things repeatedly that add up to big results over time. One practical way to build consistency is through the power of habit stacking. This is where you tie a new habit you want to build to an existing habit you already have. For example, if you want to start a daily gratitude practice, you might decide to write down 3 things you're grateful for right after you brush your teeth in the morning. By linking the new habit to an existing one, you make it more likely that you'll remember to do it. And over time, as you consistently perform this new action, it becomes a habit in its own right. Another powerful tool for consistency is the concept of break the chain. This method, often attributed to Jerry Seinfeld, involves marking an X on a calendar every day you perform a specific habit. As the chain of X's grows longer, you become more motivated to keep it going. You force yourself to maintain consistency because you don't want to break the chain. Remember, consistency isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about getting back on track quickly when you inevitably slip up, because you will slip up. We all do. The key is not to let those slip-ups derail you completely. Now let's talk about strength. Strength in this context is about resilience. It's about the ability to keep going when things get tough. It's about bouncing back from setbacks and failures. One practical way to build strength is through intentional discomfort. This might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. When you deliberately put yourself in challenging situations, you build the mental and emotional muscles to handle adversity. This could be something as simple as taking a cold shower in the morning. It's uncomfortable, sure, but when you force yourself to do it, you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. You're building the strength to face other challenges throughout your day. Another way to build strength is through the practice of reframing. This is where you consciously choose to look at challenges and setbacks in a different light. Instead of seeing them as obstacles, you see them as opportunities for growth. When you face a difficult situation, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This doesn't make the situation any less challenging, but it gives you a sense of control and purpose. It helps you find the strength to push through. Now, let's bring these elements together. Discipline, consistency, and strength are not isolated traits. They work together, reinforcing each other in a powerful cycle of personal growth. When you force yourself to stay disciplined, you build the habits that lead to consistency. When you remain consistent, you develop the resilience that builds strength. And when you cultivate strength, you find it easier to maintain discipline. But here's the crucial point. This cycle doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by wishful thinking or good intentions. It happens because you make it happen, because you force yourself to make it happen. You force yourself to get out of bed when the alarm goes off, even when you're tired. You force yourself to stick to your diet, even when you're craving junk food. You force yourself to keep working on your goals even when you're not seeing immediate results. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. But that's precisely why it's so powerful. Because when you do it anyway, when you force yourself to push through those feelings, that's when real growth happens. That's when you start to reshape your identity. That's when you start to become the person you've always wanted to be. That's when you start to live the life you've always dreamed of. But here's the thing, it's a choice. Every single day, it's a choice. You have to choose to force yourself. You have to choose discipline over comfort. You have to choose consistency over convenience. You have to choose strength over surrender. And it's not a one-time choice. It's a choice you have to make over and over again. Every morning when you wake up, every time you face a challenge, every moment you're tempted to take the easy way out. But here's the good news. Every time you make that choice, it gets a little bit easier. Every time you force yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong, you're building the mental and emotional muscles that make it easier to do it again next time. It's like compound interest for your personal growth. Small, consistent actions repeated over time lead to massive results. But you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to force yourself. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Jim, this all sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do this in real life? How do I force myself when I really don't feel like it? Well, let me share with you a few practical strategies that I've found helpful over the years. First, start with your why. You need to have a compelling reason for why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you want to stay disciplined? Why is consistency important to you? Why do you need to be strong? Your why needs to be bigger than your excuses. It needs to be something that gets you fired up. That makes you willing to push through discomfort and challenges. Maybe it's providing a better life for your family. Maybe it's making a difference in your community. Maybe it's proving to yourself that you can achieve your dreams. Whatever it is, get crystal clear on your why. Write it down, visualize it, feel it in your bones. Because when you're clear on your why, forcing yourself becomes easier. You're not just doing it for the sake of discipline or consistency or strength. You're doing it for something bigger than yourself. Second, break things down into small, manageable steps. Often, we get overwhelmed by the enormity of our goals. We look at where we want to be, and it seems so far away, and that can be paralyzing. But remember, you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to do the next right thing. You just have to take the next step. When you break things down into small, manageable actions, it becomes much easier to force yourself to take action. Don't focus on writing a whole book. Focus on writing the next page. Don't worry about losing 50 pounds. Focus on making the next healthy meal choice. Don't stress about building a multi-million-dollar business. Focus on making the next sale. Third, use the power of accountability. It's one thing to make promises to yourself. It's another thing entirely to make those promises public. When you tell others about your goals and commitments, you create a sense of external accountability that can be incredibly motivating. Find an accountability partner. Join a mastermind group. Share your goals on social media. When you know others are watching, when you know you'll have to report on your progress, it becomes much easier to force yourself to follow through. Fourth, celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Too often, we focus solely on our end goals and forget to acknowledge the progress we're making along the way. But those small wins are crucial. They provide the motivation and momentum to keep going. Did you stick to your workout routine for a week? Celebrate that. Did you resist the temptation to procrastinate and got your work done on time? Acknowledge that victory. Did you face a fear and step out of your comfort zone? Give yourself a pat on the back. These celebrations don't have to be big. A simple acknowledgement, a small reward, even just taking a moment to feel proud of yourself. These can go a long way in reinforcing the behaviors you're trying to build. Fifth, prepare for obstacles. Expect that there will be challenges along the way. Anticipate the obstacles you're likely to face and plan for how you'll overcome them. This is a technique called implementation intentions. For example, if you know you often struggle with motivation in the morning, you might say to yourself, if I feel like hitting the snooze button, then I will immediately sit up, put my feet on the floor, and take 3 deep breaths. By planning your response in advance, you make it easier to force yourself to take the right action when the moment comes. 6, use the power of environment. Your surroundings have a huge impact on your behavior. If you want to force yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong, create an environment that supports those goals. Want to eat healthier? Keep junk food out of the house and stock up on nutritious options. Want to be more productive? Set up a dedicated workspace free from distractions. Want to exercise more? Lay out your workout clothes the night before. By shaping your environment, you reduce the amount of willpower required to make good choices. You make it easier to force yourself to do the right thing. 7th, practice mindfulness. Often, when we're struggling to force ourselves to take action, it's because we're caught up in negative thoughts or emotions. We're focused on how hard it is, how uncomfortable we feel, how much we'd rather be doing something else. Mindfulness allows you to observe these thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. It helps you create a gap between stimulus and response, giving you the space to choose your actions rather than just reacting. When you're mindful, you can acknowledge the resistance you're feeling without letting it control you. You can say to yourself, yes, I notice that I don't feel like doing this right now, and I'm going to do it anyway. 8th, use the power of identity. Instead of focusing solely on your actions, focus on becoming the type of person who naturally embodies discipline, consistency, and strength. Ask yourself, what would a disciplined person do in this situation? How would a consistent person approach this challenge? What would a strong person say to themselves right now? Then act accordingly. Over time, as you consistently act in alignment with these traits, they become part of your identity. You no longer have to force yourself as much because you're simply being who you are. 9th, embrace the concept of productive suffering. Understand that discomfort is not your enemy. It's not something to be avoided at all costs. In fact, it's often a sign that you're growing, that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're becoming stronger. When you reframe discomfort as a positive sign of growth, it becomes easier to embrace it. You can say to yourself, this is hard, and that's okay. This discomfort means I'm getting stronger. Finally, remember that forcing yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting a little bit better each day. It's about making more good choices than bad ones. There will be days when you slip up. There will be times when you fall short of your own expectations. And that's okay. What matters is that you don't let those slip-ups derail you completely. What matters is that you get back on track as quickly as possible. Because here's the truth. The path to success is not a straight line. It's not a smooth, steady climb. It's a series of ups and downs, of steps forward and steps back. But as long as you keep moving, as long as you keep forcing yourself to take those steps, you will make progress. And over time, that progress adds up. Over time, those small, consistent actions lead to massive results. Over time, the discipline you force yourself to maintain becomes a habit. The consistency you struggle to keep becomes second nature. The strength you work so hard to build becomes a core part of who you are. So I challenge you today, force yourself. Force yourself to take that first step. Force yourself to keep going when things get tough. Force yourself to become the person you know you can be. Because here's the thing, you have greatness within you. You have the potential to achieve amazing things. But that potential will remain just that potential unless you force yourself to act on it. Don't let your dreams remain dreams. Don't let your goals remain unfulfilled. Don't let your potential go unrealized. Force yourself to make them a reality. Remember, success is not about what you do occasionally. It's about what you do consistently. It's not about how you feel in the moment. It's about what you're willing to do despite how you feel. So when you don't feel like it, do it anyway. When it's hard, push through anyway. When you want to give up, keep going anyway. Force yourself to stay disciplined, consistent, and strong. Because on the other side of that force, on the other side of that struggle, is the life you've always dreamed of. On the other side is the person you've always wanted to be. And let me tell you, my friends, that's worth fighting for. That's worth forcing yourself for. That's worth every ounce of effort, every moment of discomfort, every challenge you have to overcome. So go out there and force yourself. Force yourself to be disciplined. Force yourself to be consistent. Force yourself to be strong. And watch as your life transforms before your eyes. Remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Choose the path of discipline. Choose the path of consistency. Choose the path of strength. It won't be easy, but I promise you, it will be worth it. Thank you.